Living longer isn't the only thing we should be thinking about. We should be asking ourselves how to live better.
Today, we're joined by Dr. Michael Murray, author of The Longevity Matrix, How to Live Stronger, Better, and Longer.
We'll be talking about the ways to improve every system of your body, as well as your mind and spirit. Brought together, these elements can help you live with more vitality.
Welcome to Be HEALTHistic, the podcast that's more than just health and wellness information. It's here to help you explore your options across traditional and natural medicine so that you can make informed decisions for you and your family. This podcast illuminates the whole story about holistic health by providing access to the expertise of Drs. Steve and Drew Sinatra, who together have decades of integrative health experience. Be HEALTHistic is powered by our friends at Healthy Directions. Now, let's join our hosts.
Hi, folks. If you like what you hear today and you want to listen to future conversations on all things integrative and holistic health, subscribe to our podcast at BeHealthisticPodcast.com. Also, check out and subscribe to the Healthy Directions YouTube channel, which features video versions of our episodes plus extra videos you won't want to miss. And finally, we have more with me, Dr. Drew Sinatra, my dad, Dr. Steve Sinatra, and other health experts at HealthyDirections.com. Welcome everyone to another episode of Be HEALTHistic. Today we have Dr. Michael Murray on our show. Dr. Michael Murray doesn't think it's enough to live longer. The desire should be to live better and stronger with a tremendous amount of health, energy, fulfillment, and joy. Dr. Murray believes that if focus is put on accomplishing these goals, then living longer will naturally take care of itself. In naming his new book, Dr. Murray chose a descriptive title, The Longevity Matrix. A matrix refers to a set of conditions that provides a system in which something grows or develops. Within the longevity matrix, Dr. Murray offers a step-by-step approach to improve the function of each body system order to help people make their health chain as strong as possible by strengthening each individual chain. With endorsements from my dad, Dr. Mark Hyman, Dr. William Sears, and other top integrative health experts, the Longevity Matrix is a complete guide to optimizing your health and promoting vitality and longevity, especially in this age of environmental toxicity. Well, Michael, welcome to the show.
My pleasure.
Well, hey, I wanted to share a quick story of how I first met you, and you may not even remember meeting me. This was so long ago, but you came out with a book on cancer. I think it was around 2003, 2004.
Yeah.
And you had a book signing at the chapel at Bastyr University. So I bought the book, and I showed up, and I'm like this, I'm a one-year student at that point, fresh, really into the program, so excited to just jump in with natural medicine. And I give my book to you, and I look at you and I say, hey, my name's Drew Sinatra. You might know my father, Dr. Steven Sinatra. And you put down the pen, you sat back in your chair, and looked at me for 3 seconds and said, yes, I know your father. So it was just such an honor to meet you because you really are a legend.
Well, let me tell you the first time I met your father and that experience. We met in a gym at a hotel. We're both part of a symposium. And it was early in the morning, and we were the only ones in the gym working out. And what's interesting about your dad is, like me, we write a lot about the what and how, but we really are about the why. And what I mean by that is when people come to see us as patients or we interact with people, we focus on the psychology, the heart, and the emotions that people are experiencing much more than we do the biochemistry. And I think we share so much in common. And what I really respect about your dad, knowing him well, is that he walks his talk. And I respect him immensely.
Gee, I was going to say the exact same thing about you, Michael. I mean, geez. And it wasn't just once. I mean, we were on a lecture circuit together.
Yes.
Fortuitously it happened, and we were working out in gyms, and it was really great. I had the pleasure of reviewing your latest book. I review books all the time. Sometimes I have 6 books to read. But it's really good for me because it keeps me up. In other words, some of the books I agree with, some of them I don't. I only endorse a few, Michael. I'll tell you that because if there's certain aspects I don't agree with, I just tell the author, I'm sorry, I can't do it, blah, blah, blah. But your last book really struck to my core. I mean, that was so superb. I mean, every single area that you highlighted, digestive health, emotional health, cardiovascular health. I mean, the list went on. And then when I saw that you listed astaxanthin as the king of carotenoids, I said, oh my gosh. I mean, that's just incredible. So I have to tell you that that book, I hope a lot of people read it. It is like an encyclopedia. I mean, whatever your issue is, it will be answered. I'll tell you that because, even for this podcast, I re-reviewed your book again and it was great. I got to tell you, I mean, even in this day and age of COVID, we're talking about zinc and male sexuality and everything else. I'm saying, my God, you are so right on. And your book is so, it's in the zeitgeist of the times. It is happening right now. And that's why people need to really get your book. And I'm so glad they can get it online now. And that's correct. They can get it online now. And I guess it's coming out in bookstores in a few months as well. You mentioned February, I think. So
yes,
that's great. So Drew, take it away. What kind of questions do you have for Dr. Murray?
Well, let's just jump into the book. I mean, do you want to elaborate on the main theme of the book and what you want our listeners to know?
Well, you said it really well. We're a very complex system. There's so many interrelated parts. And when I read these books about longevity and life extension, they really miss the mark because, they talk about enhancing mitochondrial function or making telomeres resist shortening and all these anti-aging theories. And they're all important. But if you look at what really constitutes a quality life and a life worth living, and you come to the realization that you got to have every piece of the puzzle there, and you've got to make sure that every link in that chain is strong. And we have all these chains that are linked together: our immune system, our cardiovascular system. You mentioned my book on cancer. When I was writing that book, one of the most amazing things that I came across was a study that was looking at the way that people explain the events in their lives, whether they're an optimist or a pessimist, and the impact that their attitude had on their ability to detoxify cancer-causing compounds. And the authors in the summary talked about how they just discovered a new field. When I was first getting interested in naturopathic medicine, psychoneuroimmunology was quite the rage. And then researchers found that it's not just the mind and the brain and the emotions that influence the immune system, but also our hormonal system. So it became psychoneuroendoimmunology. And then in this summary of this article, they said we've discovered a new field. It's psychoneuroendoimmunotoxicology. And I laughed just like you laughed there because we get it. We know that everything is connected, and all these different systems they work as a collective whole. And if you want to live longer, I think it's through living better and living stronger. And it starts with the why. And I think that's what really makes my book a bit different. And it's been a big focus of mine. I just did a webinar on creating a why and the power of purpose. And everything's kind of come into focus with this COVID-19 situation because people are spending so much time with themselves or with their family. And it's really a chance for self-evaluation, self-renewal, growth, and creating a better version of themselves. And it starts with why. And I think a lot of people are not choosing to live with passion, vitality, joy, happiness, and all the things that we truly want, love and connection, because of the choices they're making. And because if you're not healthy, if you're in pain, if you're suffering, if you don't have energy, you don't have all these things that you really want in your life to the degree that you're capable of having. So for me, being healthy is doing everything that we can to live in an optimal state.
Michael, I love what you said, because all throughout your book too, and from all your other books as well, you've always been very keen on saying, well, hey, you've got digestive upset, you've got gas and bloating. Well, that's not normal. You're not deficient in antacids. You're not deficient in proton pump inhibitors. And I really like that, because people have, in a way, they've given up in a sense, because they feel like it's normal to feel pain in their body, or normal to have gas and bloating, or normal to have constipation. But it's not. And there's so many things that you can do to mitigate that and to improve those symptoms and such. So I really love that about what you do in your book. Another thing I wanted to mention really quickly, and I think is so important for us to talk about right now, is you open up your book with gratitude and why gratitude is so important. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. Cicero said that gratitude is not the greatest of all virtues, it's the mother of all others. And it's in every major, pretty much every major religion. There's something about saying grace. And I came across an article that really drove this home to me. It was an article in Sports Illustrated about Stan Musial. And Stan Musial was beloved, and he was beloved because of the grace and the gratitude that he showered upon the fans. And he was very grateful for the life that he had. And I had an epiphany, and I realized that all the people who were long-lived, who I loved, appreciated, and respected, and wanted to be like when I got to their age, they all had different personalities, different values in some regards, but there was one common thread. They all easily expressed appreciation and gratitude. And I started thinking about that. And so it led me, Drew, to, I know your father well, we're diggers. And so I started digging on the power of gratitude and looking at the impact of gratitude exercises in psychology and various works that have been done. And one of the studies I looked at was trying to create a hierarchy of what's important in determining longevity. And when they looked at lifestyle, diet, personality traits, lifestyle, when they looked at all those different factors, what filtered out as being the most important was the ability to express gratitude. And so I start with the book because that may be the most important thing. I'm very grateful for the life that I have and this gift called life. And so I want to live it to my fullest. And I know a lot of other people want that as well. And those that aren't there yet, I want to inspire them to have those feelings.
Picking up on that, Michael, I think what makes your book so exciting is that you weave in the mind, body, and the spirit. And, there's so many books out there that talk about the physical aspects and they leave out mind or they leave out spirit. But your book is exceptional because you're weaving that, trilogy throughout the book. Even your comments on laughter and stuff like that through the book. I mean, it just reminded me of Norman Cousins and some of the things that laughter does where it releases endorphins and stuff like that. So I really want to praise you for, bringing in, the mind and the body. For me, my training was in psychotherapy and emotional release work and stuff like that. So when I see another author who does that, I really resonate with it. And I just think it's so important.
Well, I want to tell a brief story. It may be in the book. I had this patient, Mike, and Mike, when he came to see me, I was younger. I was one of my. Let's see. My age is not important, but Mike was 53. His ejection fraction was only 15%. He was on the list of having a heart transplant. Yeah. He was in really bad shape. And his medical file was about that thick. And he was not only on like 21 different drugs, he was on every supplement that you or I would give him to support his heart. And yet it was failing. And I started talking to him and I kind of got a clue because he was a postal worker. He was on leave because he couldn't walk because he actually had an angina attack walking the 15 feet from the waiting room into my office. Anyway, I started talking to him and I asked him, "Hey, Mike, how are you with anger?" He goes, "Some people think I'm a hothead." And I go, when's the last time you got angry? He starts telling me a story about an argument he got in with his mother-in-law. Most of us could relate to that, but he turned bright red, and I could just see that this was not this was the issue, right? And so I talked to him, and I did so in a gingerly way because I didn't know how receptive he was. But I talked to him about biofeedback, and I told him we were going to get him going and learning how to regulate himself. But what I really wanted to do was refer him to a psychologist in our office just to begin working with him. And anyways, we talked, and I actually had a copy of a book that really touched my life. It's called Heartbreak and Heart Disease.
Oh, jeez.
And by Dr. Steven Sinatra. I gave him my copy of that book, and I said, I want you to read this book. And within a year, this man who couldn't walk 15 feet was able to walk any distance without an angina attack. His ejection fraction went from 15% to about 60%. And we got him off a lot of the medications. He had just a remarkable transformation. He went from being a grizzly bear to a teddy bear. And his cardiovascular transformation and his health transformation was what was even more dramatic was the change in his life. And what got better in his life was everything. And it started with the relationships that he had with his children, his wife, and even his mother-in-law. Everything got better. Everything got better because he healed what was really causing his heartbreak. And that led to better heart function. So, you touch people through your work as well. And this is a true story of a patient I had that was touched by your work.
Thanks for sharing that, Michael. That's really amazing. And it's just incredible how you heal somebody's anger. And it goes to, you heal the layer of anger first and the layer of sadness second. And then all of a sudden, the body begins to heal. I mean, it's just incredible. And that's why I think you even this new book of yours, you bring this out so clearly. When I read it, I just buzz with joy because, I just see the mind, body, spirit coming through, and all these different ways of healing. I mean, it's just so important.
Drew brought up proton pump inhibitors, and I like to take this opportunity to talk about these drugs like Nexium and Prilosec, because the data is overwhelming. These drugs are classic examples of drugs that suppress the symptoms. They suppress GERD, they suppress heartburn, but they create so many problems. They're proton pump inhibitors. They block something that's vital for our cellular function. And we're going to see consequences. And the consequences we see are pretty severe. These drugs shorten people's lives, and people are unaware of that. With COVID-19, the SARS-CoV-2 virus, I wrote about this when the virus first started hitting. I said, when they sift through the data, what they're going to find is that people that are on proton pump inhibitors have an increased risk of developing more severe infections. And that's been shown to be true now. And the reason's simple. We have these protective mechanisms that fight viruses before our immune system even gets a chance to interact with them. And I came across this article showing that the SARS virus, the original SARS-CoV-1, I guess, virus, they showed that it, as well as MERS, you could increase their infectivity in animal studies if you gave them in conjunction with a proton pump inhibitor. The gastrointestinal tract has some protective mechanisms so that various pathogens in our food or that we swallow get destroyed by the acid. Our acid in our stomach is a pH of 1 to 2, and that's strong enough to eat through a 2x4. But if you block it, that pH goes up, and when that pH goes up, it doesn't kill viruses. And so, this virus, I think, is going to give a lot of gifts of understanding of the importance of of what we can do to enhance a person's immune system. And there's a reason why we have this high rate of mortality here in the U.S. compared to many other countries. And it's all going to get sifted out. There's going to be so much data. But we see what the risk factors are. And I think we're going to see also how various medications contribute to risk. So anyway, bottom line is we need to get people off these PPIs. They're really damaging. They're not meant for long-term use, and staying on them for decades. Many people have been on them for decades is contrary to good health.
And your book offered solutions on that as well.
Yes, exactly. And that's the thing. There's so many natural approaches that should be almost self-evident and will be someday. Digestion is really a great example. Hippocrates said it well. He says, all health begins in the gut. He also said all disease begins in the gut. So, I take those words to heart, and I kind of look at how digestive function or gut health plays in a particular condition. And with the discovery of the appreciation of the microbiome, the link between the gut and the brain and the mind and the emotions, as that becomes more and more well known, his words are more valuable today probably than any other time. We need to look at gut health. And many of the drugs, they're working, like I said, to suppress the issues. And what we should be focusing on is how do we get at the root cause? And that's a theme throughout my book. When we look to symptom relief, it's a path to a dead end. It's a path to not a cure, but simply a painting over of disease. And we have to get at the root cause to promote true healing. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about digestive health or your area of expertise, cardiovascular health, or we're talking about inflammation or brain health, depression, whatever, any condition you can think of. If we don't address those underlying factors that are contributing to it, we're just covering things up, and things are just going to fester and grow, and that's going to lead to a bad outcome, and we don't want that. Good medicine is preventing bad outcomes, right? It's promoting health.
Yeah, and Michael, what I really like about your digestion chapter is it's so comprehensive. And even you said this, I believe, where it doesn't matter really the good foods that you're eating. You could be eating the best foods possible, but if you've got inflammation along the GI tract or whatever it is, you're not going to be absorbing all the nutrients from the food that you need. So I love that point that you made. And I also really like what you said too, and this is something missed very often, is that people, when they eat, they're just shoving food in their mouth, watching the news or something. So the first thing you got to do when you're going to have complete positive digestion is really to chew your food as much as you can in a peaceful setting where there's not lots of stress around you. That begins the process of breaking down the carbohydrates in your mouth with amylase, etc.
Yeah.
I just love how you went from system to system, starting in the mouth, down to the esophagus, down to the stomach, down to the small intestine, all the way down to the colon, so that you've got the entire thing all planned out.
Yeah, I tell the story of a patient in the book, Trevor, and so Trevor had been dealing with gas, bloating, indigestion for years, and I'd been working with him for about 6 months and hadn't been able to find a solution for him. And I was really kind of struggling to try and find a way to help him. And one day he came to see me right before my lunch break. So I said, hey, let's go out and have lunch. And it was there that I saw what the issue was. This guy, he was suffering from a condition called Aerophagia, which is the swallowing of air. And he was inhaling his food. And while he was inhaling his food, he was talking, and he was very animated. So I started asking him about if this was, a typical way he would behave at a meal. And it was. He was a very animated, passionate guy. And when we are not in a relaxed state, if we're not giving our mindfulness to digestion, we're not really helping our digestive process. And this guy was swallowing so much air that's what was creating all this gas, bloating, and indigestion. It sounds like a really simple solution, and it was. And his prescription was he had to eat in a quiet, relaxed environment and really pay attention to chew his food. And it was another a miracle. we got him well.
Yeah, and he certainly wasn't deficient in a PPI. That's what we know. So, well, Dad, you really liked Michael's chapter on detoxification. Do you want to ask him a couple questions about that?
Well, he talked about AMPK, enhancing AMPK. All these conferences that we go to, AMPK is sort of a buzzword for being a master of metabolism. And Michael, you talked about the Mediterranean diet, and you talked about olive oil, and you talked about various carotenoids and flavonoids. I mean, you really got into this, and you talked about the effects of berberine on AMPK. And I think that is something that going forward is going to be very useful. I was in the anti-aging movement for years, and I remember all the doctors were taking metformin. But now I can see the doctors switching to berberine over metformin because blood sugar, and you said it in your book, blood sugar is the enemy. I mean, this is the enemy for endothelial cell dysfunction, et cetera, and it just leads on to so many different illnesses. So I got to tell you, from the biochemistry point of view, your book was just so outstanding. You're way ahead of the curve. And I just hope our listeners can appreciate this, where a naturopath can take basic science and bring it down to a level where they really understand it. And that's the genius of your book.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I've always been good at puzzles and word games. And, I owe a lot to who I am in my career to my fourth grade teacher, Mrs. Strand. I loved her, and she had a poster of all of our names with all of our names on it. And anytime we wrote a book report, she gave us a gold star.
The gold star.
I wrote so many book reports. She had to create another poster just for me. And I wanted her love and approval, I guess. But she taught me how to write and how to read information and summarize it in a way that people could understand. And that's basically what I do today. Is I take in information and I try to express it in a way that people can utilize. I'm looking for gold stars, and I do that through hopefully making a difference in a person's life. And I couldn't help as I was getting ready for this call, Steve, to think about, our field is full of really great people. And I really like the people that are authentic and got into the field of healing for the right reasons, and that is to make a difference in the lives of others. And you're a great example of that, and Drew is as well. So we hope with our work is that it's making a difference, and that's what I've tried to do with my book. And I am offering my book at an incredible discount. I'm trying to get it in as many people's hands as possible. If people go to the longevitymatrix.com, they can get my book for only $10, and that includes shipping. So basically, we're giving them the book, for free. I'm not making any money off the book because between the printing, the handling, and the shipping costs, that comes to at least $10. So I want people to take this work and appreciate it as much as you do. I like that.
So Michael, for our listeners, I mean, what do they need to do exactly? Just go online and.
Yeah, if they go to the longevitymatrix.com, there's a video there, me explaining the book, and then there's an offer that we have where they can click and buy the book for $10. There's something that can help anyone improve their health, even someone who's vibrantly healthy. And if someone has a weak link, whether it's their immune system, their cardiovascular system, their detoxification system, or their brain, I'm offering natural solutions. I want people to use these natural solutions that address those underlying root causes instead of trying to cover things up with symptom management. That's not the path to health.
Well, that's the beauty of your book. It's so clear and simple. I mean, even in the cardiovascular section, when you talked about the two vital minerals, potassium and magnesium,
Yeah.
I mean, even cardiologists don't understand. Board certified cardiologists, conventional cardiologists, they realize that magnesium and potassium are important, but you brought it to a different level, and it's so clear, and it's the simple things that matter, and that's why your book is so good. I mean, it's brought down to the level where a guy like myself, I'm a little bit older than you. I got to tell you, this book is in the top 5 books I've ever read in my lifetime. I mean,
God, thank you.
This is just awesome.
Awesome.
Drew, you're a naturopath because of Michael. Remember that. Because when Michael and I were at conferences together, remember when you would go in, when you graduated college, I said, go to Bastille, and you were the youngest, you were probably the youngest student at Bastille, right?
I was 22 when I started. I was very young. Yes.
And a lot of people who went to Bastille
now.
had other careers, right? They were massage therapists or nutritionists or, and like you were young. So, Michael, we owe you a lot because Drew never would have met Brianna, his wife, if he didn't go to Bastille. And so that's how the Lord works. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's amazing. The universe is truly amazing. And Drew, we're looking for you to carry on the torch, and anything I can do to support that.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Michael, for our Wellness Wisdom segment, if you had one big pearl of wisdom with regard to the lessons in the longevity matrix, what would it be? Many to choose from, I understand.
Yeah, well, I get asked the question, what one thing do you recommend, or what's the most important? And, I get a little touched because I think of a patient that I had, and his name was Dean, and he had a rare inherited disorder, and he was the oldest living person in history with this condition. And it's called cystinosis, and it leads to crystals in the kidneys, and he went through 3 different kidney transplants. And the pain and just everything he was going through. But if I asked him to do something, he would do it. His compliance was amazing. And it's because of his desire and his will and his appreciation for life. And I asked him once, what motivated him, and, what gave him that drive. And he said, all I can do is all I can do. So why wouldn't I do all that I can do? And gosh, it's such a moving statement when you think about that. And I wish people would appreciate their health and their life to take that attitude that Dean had, because he was at a detriment compared to most of us because of his genetics. That was his weakest link. Most of us don't have to overcome that degree of a true genetic disorder. What we have to overcome is our limitations and our mindset. And, so I encourage people to do everything they can: body, mind, spirit, diet, lifestyle, exercise, getting enough sleep, attitude, and proper use of supplementary measures. All are critical, and do as many as you can to have a better life and better health. So that's my last words.
Couldn't agree more with what you said.
And then, Drew, I just want to tag something on in that. I liked his 7 top superfoods, at the end of his book. I thought that was really cool. Michael, choose one out of the top 7 and give us your top pick on that. I'm going to put you on.
I'll go with chocolate.
Oh, you're going to go with cocoa? Oh, I love it.
I love flavonoids. I love all flavonoid-rich foods. Truly amazing little miracles from nature. But chocolate has about 70 unique compounds in it. And It's a great food.
Now you're talking for our listeners that get it clear, a very, very dark chocolate.
Yeah, the higher the better.
Right.
Raw cacao, probably the best.
Yeah, and from the cardiovascular point of view, I'll tell you, lowering of blood pressure with cocoa is just phenomenal. I mean, I've seen it in my patients. It's just a great way. So,
well, Michael, thank you so much for coming on the show today. We appreciate it.
All right. God bless you guys.
That's our show for today, folks. If you have a question or an idea for a show topic, please send us an email or share a post with us on Facebook. And remember, if you like what you heard today and you want to be an active member of the Be HEALTHistic community, subscribe to our podcast at BeHealthisticPodcast.com or on Apple Podcasts or wherever you download your favorites. You can also find more great content and information from us and the Healthy Directions team at healthydirections.com. I'm Dr. Drew Sinatra.
And I'm Dr. Steve Sinatra.
And this is Be HEALTHistic.
Thanks for listening to Be HEALTHistic with Drs. Drew and Steve Sinatra, powered by our friends at Healthy Directions. See you next time.